starting the second inaugural weekly episode series, Trading Tip Tuesday. This week, horizontal lines, the humble but significant horizontal line tool, oft overlooked, oft undermentioned, extremely powerful and simple tool anybody can use for trading. The first thing I'd teach anybody at any age is the horizontal line tool. Let's take a look at some examples of the power, the beauty, the joy of the horizontal line. Pulling up the BLX, Brave New Coin's Bitcoin Liquid Index on TradingView, ticker BLX. Let's go to the line chart. Let's skip the candles, skip the hubbub about, do I include the wick? Do I include the body? The line chart excludes the wicks. It says they don't matter. We're looking at candle closes here. This is the weekly chart. This is the weekly basis. Use the monthly. Use any asset. Use any coin. Start high. Work your way down. We're on the weekly. What do we see? We obviously see mega highs, mega lows, whatever the case may be. At each of those points, price has memory. Price will have a reaction to those levels most likely. Should price exceed those levels, a momentum bias emerges. Hence the power of the horizontal line. What does that look like? Well, we can draw a line on each of these levels, leave it on the chart. That's the key. We zoom way out, plot some lines, make sure we don't delete those lines, and then zoom in when we're trading day-to-day basis. So if we look at what that might look like for BTC on the weekly levels, clearly the September 2013 all-time high was a major level to break on the way up from 2017. The current local high, which is one way to describe previous highs that aren't all-time highs or all-time lows. This is a local low, this is a local low. The current local high is at around 11.6 and is a key level for any further upside. Based on horizontal lines, there's certainly a strong trade from 11.6 to 19.5, just as there's a strong trade from 5.2 to 3.2 based on the local lows. There are many ways you can look at this. This is just one. Many people were discussing the potential possibility of returning to 1K, the previous all-time high, because this was the support level in 2018. Certainly one way to evaluate the chart is just to look at the horizontal lines and just use obvious logic. Where was the last horizontal line? Now you can obviously point a line to any of these local highs, but any of the extreme highs and extreme lows are going to be extremely valuable, zoomed way out when you're trying to determine potential future price reactions. If you know nothing about anything, I'm not looking at volume, I'm not looking at trend, nothing. All I'm looking at is the horizontal lines here. Another way to think about this is this horizontal line is support until it becomes resistance, just as it was here. This horizontal line is resistance until it becomes support. Resistance became support, off to the races. Current level, resistance. If support has not been established here at 11.6, 11.7. If we look at some other previous examples, the BLX again, this is 2015 November. Okay, this is way back in the time machine. At this point, we were talking about, is BTC a failed experiment? Is this even going to become a thing? Where is this going to go? What were people looking at that time? Horizontal lines. You can put horizontal lines in a trading range just to visually help distinguish between what's going on. Are we at a high? Are we at a low? Are we going to stay in the range? Is this a sell? Is this a buy? Once again, it's resistance until it becomes support. Now, if you know other TA, you might be screaming at the screen, this is a white coffee and accumulation. It is. It was. That's how it turned out to be. But white coffee and accumulation schematics, chart pattern schematics, chart pattern fractals, all start with a horizontal line. If you can't use the horizontal line, you can't draw the white coffee and schematic. So you got another horizontal line. Obviously, this was when Bitcoin was 300, 210, 250, whatever. But it starts with the horizontal line. Let's look at Cardano. Just pick some random coin, Cardano BTC. Let's look at this range. Again, you can put horizontal lines at any extreme low, any extreme high. Again, you're seeing this white coffee and type of accumulation. You're seeing price reactions at previous levels. Is there a reason? Yeah, because everyone's looking at the same chart. Everyone's looking at the left side of the chart. They're saying, oh, what happened at 630 sats? Oh, that was a local high. Okay. We're probably going to need excessive momentum to break that level. Just as we are at 450 sats. This has been the low 16 times. We're probably going to need excessive momentum to break that low. Support until it's resistance. Resistance until it's support. This also helps you determine the middle of the range, as was the case here. Not always the case, but is helpful when you're trying to draw out a range. Again, you'll see this on any chart. Here's Monero. Sometimes it gets messy. The first obvious horizontal I can see is in 2017. Very clearly, look at the support. It's so clearly a horizontal line. It's drawing it for you. Support, 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 support. It's a base for liftoff. You're saying, okay, this is hindsight. This is useless to me. Okay, let's project it further. Let's go to 2018. It was support here until it wasn't, and then it was resistance. Does this level still matter today? Of course it does, because everyone's looking at it. Everyone's looking at the same chart, which is another reason why you plot these on high time frames, leave them on your chart, and use them to influence your trading decisions. Is this a congested area historically based on support resistance, based on local highs? Of course it is. Look at all these lines up here. If there's congestion in an area, do you expect price to just shoot through it? No. Price will have a reaction at each of these lines. This isn't voodoo. This isn't anything special. There are other ways to measure this, like VPVR, volume profile of the visible range. There will be resistance levels, high volume areas at each of these levels. But if all you know is a horizontal line tool, you don't even need VPVR. What else does this show me? It shows me once we're past 120, we're almost in the clear. You know, you can draw a horizontal line at 150 perhaps as well. But again, when you're looking at ranges, you're looking at overbought, you're looking at oversold, you're looking at historic levels here. In March, when price dropped to $32, people may have panicked. People may have thought, it's game over. Monero's dead, right? This is BTC's $200 moment. Failed experiment. Whereas other people are saying, this is fairly oversold for the range. Might be a good time to pick up some Monero here. One way to adjust your equilibrium when emotions are high. Let's look at some chart patterns. Let's say you know nothing about chart patterns. You know the horizontal line tool. Well, guess what? The horizontal line will show you where price wants to go. If price has knocked on a horizontal line 5 times, it'll eventually attempt to cross that line, just as it did in July 2018 for BTC, just as it did in November 2018 to the downside for BTC. You don't need to know anything about chart patterns, anything about bias. You don't need to know anything about current events. You don't need to know anything about infighting for BSV and BCH. You don't need to know any of that as long as you know the horizontal line tool. This went obviously south. You don't need to know that Q2 is specifically bullish for crypto, that April is great for BTC. You got your horizontal line tool. Look at these hits, like 7, 8 hits. You don't need to know that this represents a cloud edge-to-edge trade to 5K. You don't need to know any of that because all you're looking at is resistance, resistance, resistance. Price will attempt to cross this as it did in Q2 2019, as it did in early 2020. You don't need to know that this is an inverted head and shoulders. You have your horizontal line tool. Let's look at Wi-Fi, a DeFi darling. Maybe you're swept up in the community. Maybe you're swept up in the hype. But if you were using the horizontal line tool, you say to yourself, all right, if this breaks 2100, it's probably going lower. It's probably waning as far as the hype machine is concerned once it breaks 2100. You don't need to know that this is a chart pattern. All you need to know is that there was a support here that needs to hold, or price will have a strong bearish bias. Let's look at, again, zoomed way out. Say, Josh, you know, this horizontal line stuff, I don't know. It's not really that important. This was 2017. Again, you don't need to know that this is a chart pattern. Potentially Adam and Eve, potentially a ascending triangle. You don't need to know any of that. You say, all right, there was a horizontal line here. I'll give you that. There was support here, certainly. And then it just broke the support, right? We are still dealing with this sub 395 range. There's really been 2 eras for ETH, sub 395 and above 395. It is unsurprising that price returned to this level despite multiple local highs here, shot straight to that level, struggled with it, attempted to break out, and couldn't. So what am I looking for right now in this moment is price reaction above 395, above the psychological level of 400, simply based on the 2017 horizontal line. Again, you don't need anything else. If you're looking at horizontal lines will set you free for tradable, actionable decisions, just as they did for Cardano. Again, this is Cardano BTC. You're thinking, all right, what good could horizontal lines from 2018 be? Same story. Where did Cardano go? Straight to those previous support resist levels. This again, inverted head and shoulders. You don't need to know that there's going to be a price reaction at this level. Price will attempt to return to this level. Could easily draw another horizontal line here, horizontal line here, horizontal line here. On the way up, these are going to be levels to watch. 1,500 sats, 1,800 sats. If this price returns to 1,300, guess what? There's going to be a price reaction there. Inevitably, as there was 15 times before, price will pause, will acknowledge this level, support resist, etc. Just as it did on the way down, this again, ascending triangle, sitting here. Now it's printing inverted head and shoulders. You don't need to know any of that to know that, all right, there's a horizontal line straight here at 1,000 sats. If price is above that level, it probably has a bias to go higher. And lastly, you might be thinking, hey, does this work for anything else? Does this work for any other chart? Here's gold. Okay, this was 2019, mid 2019. Look at all these touches for gold. It took gold 6 years, as it often does for legacy stuff, to break levels. It took gold 6 years to break this horizontal line, to break this range, but it did. So at the end of the day, horizontal lines will make you more money as a trader than perhaps any other metric, any other indicator, any other source of news that exists. I highly suggest investing in yourself by aggressively using the horizontal line tool.